Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And hi, Darren. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Adam. Thanks for the
Good.
invitation to join today.
Thanks for joining us. We're super excited and so many questions for you. I hope you're ready for this. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, all is
yeah.
good.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, look, we've had loads of questions come through. So thank you to everybody who has sent questions in advance. Of course, we only have 45 minutes. We're unlikely to answer all of them. We won't have the time to answer very specific questions, but more general questions, and there's lots of those. So we've got 45 minutes. If there are things that you think of as we're going through, feel free to put them in the chat. If we have time to answer them, we will. Or we might be able to direct you to a previous session that we've done that might answer your questions. So again, thank you for joining us wherever you are in the country today. I'm in a very cold and grey London. Darren, where are you today?
Grey but not wet, Birmingham,
Okay.
which is good. So yeah, it's dry. I'll take that.
Okay, good, good. So again, thank you for joining us. We're really, really grateful for you giving up your time and sharing your experiences. Um,
Okay.
could you give us a little
Yeah,
introduction about yourself, your career history, and
absolutely.
why you're today's expert?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Adam. Well, I think first of all, just like to say well done to everybody that's joined this call for investing in yourself today. I do think that's really important, and I think career planning and career management is something that's going to take you all time. So the fact that you're here today, hope to be able to guide you in the right directions or give you some pointers or reassurances, I think is probably something that I can help with. Then that's a good thing. So 45 minutes a day is well spent on yourself. So well done. So I've worked in the early career sector for a long, long time, um, over 20 years now. And I've worked at Big Four. I was at Deloitte for 10 years, looked after anything Warwick University, Northwood, Scotland and Ireland, audit tax consulting, of course, and technology. And then after that, did dip my toe into HE at a university in the East Midlands in the career services team there, University of Leicester. So, but the pull of the corporate world drew me back in. So I've spent time in the legal sector and then within utilities as well. More recently at Tarmac, CRH, building materials, not specifically construction. And then at the start of 2025, I joined Ofwat. So my first taste of the civil service, fantastic organisation in Ofwat. And I think hopefully I can give you some reassurances if there's any questions about the future of the water sector and regulation as well. But I know there's a lot of questions that have been submitted, and I've had a look at those today, and we'll go through those. So thanks, Adam, for giving
Fantastic.
us the opportunity to help out.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I think with such a great varied experience in different sectors, you'll be able to give some really good insights. So look, today's about being authentic in the process. So
Mhm.
everything from interview through, sorry, from application through to interview. And of course, the burning question, the hot topic of the moment is all about AI. Okay.
Mm.
And so many questions that have come through about that balance between how do you remain authentic, how your true self, in a time when you can put things into AI. So I guess let's start off with the most general question here, is, and many people have asked this, but it's how can AI help me with my job application? Would you advise uh, graduate applicants to be using it, or
Yeah.
do employers prefer CVs that are written, I say by hand, but without the use of
Okay.
AI? Um,
Okay.
yeah,
It's
let's
it's
start there.
fine. I think let's start off with that little bit of a history lesson, right? So there was something called the internet that was created, and everybody thought the world would change, and even in world of early careers, which I was probably didn't join until way after that, in fact. But You know, the feedback that I've had from my network is this kind of, okay, well, when the internet arrived, everybody thought the whole landscape was going to change in terms of the way that people applied. And it can be said in a similar way for AI as well. So I think AI as a tool, um, and figuring out how you can use AI in those applications, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because it can help you speed up your own knowledge through what's coming back at you and the different sources that that information is coming from. And that in turn can help you with planning your application. So I think it is a great tool to use. I use it in work as well. Um, and that helps me, for example, well, I won't give you specific examples, but it does help me complete a piece of work a lot quicker than what I would do if it's just me, Word documents or screens. There's information I'm able to pull, look at that, and then personalize it. And I think that's a really important thing as well. So what I have found through experiences recently, off what we've got a very it's a civil service, right? So it's through, you apply through civil service jobs site, and there's a personal statement, 3 questions, and everyone has to be manually screened. And I think it's probably worth saying on here that, you know, your application questions, CVs, there might be tools that are used for AI, but they're going to be looked by a human being. Okay. So with our process, what I found is that you could pretty easily tell where somebody has thrown a question into AI and got it to answer it for them, and then it's a lift and shift into an application, rather than somebody really thinking about their own personal motivations. You can use AI to gain knowledge, and that can help you with submitting that application. But you know, so the answer is it can help you with your job applications 100%. There'll be all sorts of information that you can find rather than just looking on a website, but just be careful how you use it. With regards to CVs, I know that CVs can produce, or AI can produce, those kind of well designed CVs, and that's absolutely fine. You know, I think it's about those covering letters that you'll sort of put alongside a CV, where you're personalizing your own reasons behind why you're applying for a opportunity. And just to throw in, you know, because there are many different sort of conundrums here, you know, there's so many different variations of what selection looks like across employers across different sectors. So some will have those traditional um, processes, and others will have much more innovative processes. So there's not going to be a one size fits all. But in answer to the questions and how can AI help me with your job applications, it certainly can. But ultimately, you as an individual, you've got to think about the why, and you've got to do your little bit of homework, and you've got to personalize that question that you're answering as well. Um, I've been introduced to AI software that can detect that. Now, we'd still score an application fairly, but if I copy and paste some text and put it in an AI detector, it's just going to tell me straight away if it's AI produced or not, which is incredible, really. Um, but you know, there's no way any candidate that is really committed and really wants to kind of pursue something, and that's what it's about as well. Even before you start applying, ask yourself why. And if
Mm-hmm.
you can answer those questions, then use that AI to help you build research that's then going to ultimately support you in your application.
Okay, super. Thank you. So, with that in mind, one of the questions was you're saying to personalize it and make it about you. So, one of the questions is how do I use examples and things that I've done
Yeah.
in an application? So,
Yeah.
how do I know what is relevant or not? What should I use? Because is it everything? I can't get everything into a two-page CV. How do I decide what is relevant to include and what not
Okay.
to?
What you'll find is a lot of job adverts, there'll be person specifications alongside those as well. So the advert is the short part, which tells you a little bit about what the role is. And then a good employer is going to put alongside that documents that will enable you to see a little bit more of the detail, more about the role. And also they'll include in there what the person spec is like, what's actually the must kind of have, the attributes that an individual will bring to the table. And by looking at those, then you're able to pull out from your own experiences where you are meeting those specific attributes. Employers know that you guys are at the very start of your career journey. They are not going to be in the habit of looking for technical experts at this stage. Yes, there'll be direct entry roles where you will go in and do specific work. There'll be a lot of programs that will enable you to grow as individuals. So have a look at those job adverts a lot more closely and have a look at the person or the criteria that they're looking for. So I think that if you approach it in that way, draw on your own experiences and think about where you've demonstrated what it is that that employer is indicating that is required. That's and examples of it, not theoretical. Oh, this is what leadership looks like, or this is what a team looks like. This is what a successful team will do. Think about when you have done that and examples of that, and having the self-awareness of where you excel, but also the maturity to be able to say, well, this is kind of what the role brings and enables you to actually develop further and grow. That's vitally important too.
Nice. There's another question that, just while you're on that, I'm just remembering another question that came in, very much linked to this, which was, how do you try and promote yourself and your strengths and your
Yeah.
experience, and finding the balance between not playing them down to seem too humble,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not being too much, and the words here is coming across as arrogant or bragging?
Yeah. I don't think, and if we're talking about an interview, then there'll be all sorts of different personalities or that you will see at an assessment centre. There'll be your introverts and extroverts, people that will go into detail, people that won't. And I think that, as long as you are following what's been asked of you, then interviewers will recognise those achievements that you've made. You don't need to talk them up. There will be, you can do, but and so you can do. I think that you shouldn't read into it too much that you have to be a certain personality when you're in that room. You need to be honest. You won't come across as arrogant or bragging unless you really, really do so. You've been asked to go and attend that interview. You've been invited to an assessment centre based on merit, and they want to find out more. So that is your opportunity to celebrate the successes that you've got, and you will find that the interviewer will be interested and want to find out more. It's not bragging. It doesn't come across as arrogant unless you make it and overstep that mark a little bit. But people that might not be, let's say you're an individual that isn't going to be the first one through the door at a party and announce yourself that you're here. Yeah, I'm here, everybody. Somebody that is, as I said, quite introverted, then you take yourself out of that comfort zone a little bit and sort of celebrate those successes that you've had. I've interviewed candidates before with colleagues where somebody has done something and they've spoken about it and they've gone out the room and we've kind of gone, crikey, yeah, incredible. We know that they could have spoken about it a lot more than what they did, but what they did provide you as with was enough evidence to actually think, well, they're actually talking that down. The danger is that when you're working to specific criteria, then you do need the evidence there to be able to mark it. You can't second guess. You can't think, well, okay, they've done X. I know what that entails. We still need to hear it from the candidate. So that's important. But you're not bragging.
Okay, good, good. Thank you. I've taken us off on a slight
That's fine. That's
diversion,
fine.
off on a slight tangent. So thank you for bearing with me.
That's
Let's
fine,
go
Adam.
back to AI. And we were talking about
Yeah.
that, and you were saying all the great things and how we should use it. And obviously, most of the students on this webinar are international students. So
Okay.
there's the language element as well where AI can help. One of the
Mm.
questions is about how far to go. So we know how to use it well, but the question was, so in a time when AI is so prominent, how can I stand out? Where should I be using AI to get ahead? But where is it actually detrimental to use?
I think it's detrimental to use it if you're in a video interview, for example.
Okay.
So if you've got, do not under by any means, if you're an online assessment as well, don't use AI to sort of help support you. You wouldn't take it into an interview if you were face to face, and therefore, you shouldn't have it alongside you where you're being assessed for you, not kind of a piece of kit that can give you an answer straight away. There's a conversational aspect to it, and there's an authenticity aspect to it as well. So you will get found out. So it's definitely detrimental to use it in those scenarios. What was the other part of the question? Sorry, Adam.
No, I think that's it because we talked earlier
Yeah,
about how to use it. I mean, have you got any examples of where you've seen
yeah.
candidates
I've seen
use it
I've seen
badly?
candidates I've seen candidates in video interviews. Um, not necessarily that the software that I've used does have kind of that um AI authenticator. So that's not, it's the evidence that you're scoring, but it will tell me, the AI can tell me if it's scripted or if it's conversational. And therefore, do be careful with that non-verbal communication as well. If you're looking in other places around the room, then it can pick that up as well. And if you're sounding scripted, it has the ability to pick that up. And that doesn't
Wow.
mean it's a no, because it's still, but it's just okay. Here's it. It's scripted. And as well with video interviews as well, what you'll often find is that you've got a set amount of time to answer a question. You can also pause it as well, which means that, okay, well, I'm going to pause that there for 30 seconds. It's knocking the time off at the end that I can complete it in, but that's giving me additional time. So I could script something within 30 seconds and then actually read it back. So all of a sudden there is potential to use AI, but it would be to the detriment of yourself if you're not answering that question in exactly the same way as if you were face to face with somebody in a room without anything alongside you. I know it's daunting, and that's why a lot of tools kits will enable you to understand how those video interviews are going to work, so you can then practice before then going into the real thing. And you know what? It's okay to have a pause in exactly the same way as you would do a face-to-face interview, to then get your message across.
Hmm. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? The topic of today is authenticity, being
Yeah,
real, being the real you,
yeah,
being true to yourself.
yeah.
And before we had AI, and yes, we can embellish things, but we've chatted before. You've got to be true to yourself
You
because
do.
what you don't want to do is be somebody that. So there's two things I always think of here. Try and be the person that
Mm,
you think they want you to be, because then you be that person, and actually either they see you as fake, or you be that person and that's not what they
you're not.
want,
Well, you're not
or
going to keep it up.
worse.
You're not going to keep it up forever, are you? So 12 months down the
Exactly.
line, when you're in that role, then you not some. It will cause problems.
Yeah, you hate it. I had it. I've worked with people and they've really done a great job of faking it during a full-on interview process,
Mm,
assessment center process. When I
mm,
worked in sales, I worked in recruitment and sales, and a big part of that was being on the phone, and we
mm.
didn't hide any of that. And within the first week, this guy was terrified to even answer the phone, never mind make calls. So now he's in
Yeah,
a job which he's not enjoying. It's wasted his time,
yeah,
right? And I think especially here when we're looking at potentially graduate roles, first jobs,
yeah,
right? So much effort goes in. The
yeah,
worst thing you want to do is fake it to end up in a job that wasn't right for you, and then you've got to start the
yeah.
process again. So the more genuine you are, even if you don't get the job, you think it's the job you want, actually, there's often a good reason why you didn't get it. And you know what? Sometimes it probably wasn't what you thought, and you wouldn't
Mm.
enjoy it in the same way you thought.
I think the technology is there to be able to apply to a lot of jobs very, very quickly. My advice would be is that as a starting point, the people who are on this call today, or I would say any student that's taking up the support that career services will offer, is that's part of your career planning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you're investing time to actually understand more about yourself and what you enjoy and what it is that you want to do and how you can pursue that, then you're going to be a lot more successful in and spending far less time over, I suppose in the longer term, far less time applying for jobs than you would do just by applying for anything that's available.
Mm-hmm.
The practicalities of the roles that are out there, you think you just got to go through that kind of checklist. Is the location somewhere I want to work? Is it the industry I want to work in? Do I actually fit or does the culture of that organization fit with me? Do the values of that organization, are they similar to my own values? Am I going to get, what's important to you? Are you going to get supported? And how are you going to get supported? Um, all of those will enable you to choose opportunities that you do want to apply for and those that might not feel right for you. So investing your time wisely to be able to be the real you, because there are those organizations out there that will have those opportunities, then you're likely to be more successful,
Mm-hmm.
hands down. And I think I said to yourself, Adam, earlier, rather than that kind of spray and pray approach, let's just
Mm-hmm.
apply everywhere. Take your time. I'm hoping I know that universities will be encouraged even from first years onwards to think about the long term and think about that end goal and how you can personally develop during your university kind of experience. And all of that, you're absorbing those skills or learning new skills. Um, you've got your studies, but the outside of the sort of lecture theatre as well is hugely important, and you will develop those skills. And
Mm-hmm.
by managing your own time effectively to look at the wins, look at what you've actually learned, it will enable you to make the right choices further down the line rather than like, oh my God, I need a job. I need to go and apply. Press a button, there's 100 application goes off, and then it's really important.
Thank you. So there are some questions coming through. I thought these were similar, but actually, so how vital are experiences on a CV? He has three
Okay.
in
Okay.
finance. Yeah.
Okay. Let me answer that one. That's
Okay.
really quite from us for ourselves anyway. Um, Work experience. That every employer is going to be different. I highlighted this earlier.
Yeah.
Um, as an employer for our 2026 programs, work experience won't even be looked at. It's not part of the criteria. It's not part of the screening, and we will screen people based on their responses to the application questions. Now, and there is clear criteria in which we provide to candidates as well. But I do appreciate that that's just one organisation, or other civil service departments will sort of have very similar criteria as well. But in terms of that work experience, then I suppose it's how you articulate that in your CV and the key points. To what extent is the employer reading that CV? If it's an SME, then the likelihood is that they will have those standard covering letter and CV. The covering letter is equally as important, if not more, because you can expand on that information a little bit of what you've done and
Mhm.
then link it back to what it is that their employer is looking for as well. So there are ways in which you can fold that in without having to write a CV that's huge in length. That CV can be a couple of pages. It sort of highlights the factual information, and then you can personalize that letter that draws out those experiences that you have that link in with what it is that the employer is looking for. And it might not even, it might be completely different industries, but if you look at the skills or attributes that that employer is looking for and what you've done may be someone completely separate, not related at all, then it is about those skills that the employer will be interested in if you're meeting that overarching overall criteria. So if they're looking for individuals with analytical and research skills, and you've got those, then highlight where it is that you've used that in your covering letter. You've got the detail in your CV, but just give a snippet of where you've done that, and so highlight it that way.
Great, thank you. Because we did get a question before as well from a mature student.
Yeah.
So kind of similar
Yeah,
thing.
exactly the same. I would say it's completely, whether you're a mature student or not, if you've done something that is relatable in terms of skills that that new employer, a different industry is looking for, that is absolutely fine. Don't kind of pigeonhole yourself thinking, oh my God, I'm a mature student. This is the industry that I've worked in. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this, because you are going to find that unless it's a specific role, there'll be a lot of overlaps with the skills that you have developed in that separate industry that you could bring across.
Yeah. Right. And I think maybe I'm going to go on a slight tangent, but I just saw something pop up earlier,
Mm,
which was so there's a lot of fear mongering at the moment about the job market, and AI will potentially eliminate 10% of all entry-level white-collar jobs in about a year. Is there any actual truth, and is it as bad as everyone says? I mean, my view is, look, um, I just, in my opinion, and I know I'm not, I don't know how it's all going to pan out. None of
mm,
us do, right? But I think it's, yes, there's jobs that are going to be lost through it, but it's going to create new jobs in the same way throughout the
yeah,
centuries, right? When you
yeah,
started off, Darren, by talking about the internet coming along and everyone was
yeah,
terrified at the time it was going to take jobs. Look at how many jobs that has created over
yeah.
the years. And I think linking into that, it's about being adaptable. It's about being open to new skills. I changed my career midlife. And I'm seeing it more and more and more. My generation, a lot of my friends and friends of friends, either through choice
Yeah.
or through circumstance and necessity, are changing. And so I think it's about being adaptable.
I think it is being adaptable. And I think that there are essential skills gaps that are currently out there, sort of technical um, skills, especially. If I look at it's just information I found out by using AI actually. If you look at analytics, emerging technologies, so if we're looking at AI, then there are those kind of advanced statistics, data visualization, machine learning skills that are required. So those need to be developed, and I think that that will provide opportunities. The tricky thing is so the speed in which AI is moving at is making sure that curriculum can keep. It's difficult for curriculum to keep up
Yeah,
with that.
yeah, yeah.
But there are those softer skills. I think that COVID hasn't helped your generation that sort of had
Mhm.
experienced that and it being in study. So the importance of kind of shortfall areas from information I've communication, verbal, written, and data communication. So it's still really, really vital. So the jobs aren't going to be, the jobs aren't going to disappear. I just think it's a different skill set alongside those that are more traditional, shall we say, such communication, verbal, written, are still needed. I don't think it's going to change everything.
So no, and not
It's
overnight.
not.
Uh, but it's interesting. We watch. Well, we will see. We will find out. Um, Again, thank you for the questions coming through. And there's some that are coming through that are matching questions that got asked before. And so a big common question. Let's move to the interviews. So just had a question for in-person interviews, how to make sure you're making a good impression. Somebody
Yeah.
before they used the how do you put your best foot forward in an interview?
Mm.
Over
Do you
to
know
you.
what? I think for me personally, that then I do like to get to know candidates before they walk through the door.
Hmm.
So employers have a duty of care to you as candidates to make sure that you can be your best self when you go in on that day. And I think that you will find a lot of employers that will provide that sort of even in kind of assessment process care to allow you to give you that little bit of confidence. If I think of somebody's not from Birmingham or traveling to the West Midlands and they've never been to an interview before and they've never kind of had an assessment centre, then it's a pretty daunting experience, right? But they've met the criteria on first few stages. before then getting to that point. And the recruitment teams or the early careers teams that you're working with, they'll want to see you there, right? You've invested time in that employer, they've invested time in you, and they've recognized we want to see this person, and they look great, and we want to provide that opportunity. And that's what they're doing. They're providing you with an opportunity to go and share more about you. There'll be the sweet spots, and there'll be the sort of development areas as well. But in terms of being prepared, then you've got a responsibility that you can lead yourself, and making sure you know where to go, you know what the dress code is, you kind of doing your research on the company. But it is about, okay, I am stepping into a room with people that I don't know. Use the services of or use the support of the career services you've got. Go and have a mock interview somewhere if you've never had an interview before. Okay, it will help just build up that confidence.
Yeah, and the career services for all the
Oh,
universities here, the amazing career services, you can set up mock interviews with
yeah,
those,
yeah,
utilize your career services.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely, and but ultimately there'll be other people that you'll meet. And the one thing I would say is, if you're going to an assessment day or an assessment centre, don't look at the other people in that room as you're up against them. It's a competition. You don't know specifically how many roles are available. Um, Therefore, it is about being yourself. It is about being friendly to the other candidates in exactly the same way as you would do your peers if you were at university. They will look, the key kind of skills for graduate programs will include developing relationships with others, because you're entering the world of work, and therefore seeing that in action. You're not being assessed when you're all there in the introductions, but actually just being comfortable in your surroundings, being looked after by the employers will help you do that. So I sort of know that a lot of my sort of peers, as it were, in the industry will go a long way to making sure that candidates feel comfortable, and for you to be yourself irrespective of background. So with some reassurance there, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. And I think that leads nicely on to, so there's a couple of very specific interview questions, or and one is interview or the start of an assessment, and it's that, how do you answer that first question? Tell me about yourself, because it's a fine
Okay.
balance, right, between being really dry or going the other way and
Yeah,
oversharing.
yeah.
How do you
I
answer?
saw that question come in, and I thought, firstly, I don't like it. For one, I don't like it, but I understand. We would use it, but we would use it in a non-assessed way. So it's kind of a warm-up question to sort of finding out, we know about you, right? Because you've probably told us a little bit about yourself in a video interview, if the process includes a video interview. And there's an application as well where you've provided lots of info. So for me, it doesn't feel as though the employer is doing themselves justice, where it's going, okay, tell me about yourself. They know that, they know a lot about you already,
Yeah.
but I think to include a warm-up question which is similar, that can, okay, tell me about something that you really enjoy doing. So that is a great question,
Can I say
because,
drinking beer?
well, it depends what job you've applied for, of course. But I would say, if you're talking about something that you enjoy doing, then you're naturally engaged in that. So you will talk about it passionately. It's an interest of yours. And I think that enables you to demonstrate engagement in something that you love. And I think what you're doing there is setting the bar for the rest of the interview with the other questions that you've got coming your way. Because we can see when, just pick a name out in front of me here, Sophia, for example, we can see when Sophia is engaged in doing something because she's enjoying it, and she's passionate about that. So that's kind of the base level now that we've got for the rest of the interview. So when we ask questions relating to the role or program and the why you're looking to pursue this, then we know that's the kind of that's the kind of response that we want.
Great. I mean, just on that, and we haven't talked about this before, but concern here in terms of maybe disability
Yeah,
or
completely get
neurodivergence.
that. Yeah,
Should we be open and honest about this?
we should be, because there will be disability confident employers that can make adjustments where needed for individuals as well. So, and so being transparent right at the very start of the selection process is important, so that you can be catered for. So whether it's a video interview, then adjustments can be put in place, whether it's, even in the initial application, as long as you're meeting the criteria set, then that we can, or employers generally will be able to support students that could be neurodiverse.
Super, thank you. So another specific question, and I know that you're not a fan of this question either, so I don't think you ask it, but others do ask it.
Okay.
Tell me about your future. Where do you see yourself
Yeah.
in 5 or 10 years'
Yeah.
time? On
Yeah.
a
It,
beach
it's a
somewhere,
little, yeah,
retired.
exactly. It's kind of what you want me to say. Okay. Um, I think maybe it does show, well, are you looking ahead, especially with some career routes that could see um a lot of time spent on study before then, um I suppose, going into that specific profession, then it could be 5 to 10 years. So, what is that person's thoughts around, or how they're going to achieve their goal, especially if it's kind of qualifications that are going to take 3 years plus, or it is a clear career path which is going to, let's say back in Deloitte days, if you've got somebody who's going through the ACA qualification, well, there's a significant period of time. Then there'll be kind of information that you can find quite easily on kind of what that time scale is and trajectory for a sort of progression. So what have you thought about, well, what are the challenges that you're going to face? How are you going to overcome those? What support that you've got, or what support that you need? So you can talk about the long term in that way, quite easily. I suppose it's just from maybe where I am at the moment, or where I've been previously, there hasn't been a need for that question. So I wouldn't say to people on this call that lots of employers are going to use that question. I don't think that'll be the case, but I might be wrong. But I think that, if you look at retention rate, I won't go into the sort of science behind it, but if you look at how long people are going to stay in their first job for, then why would you be asking somebody in certain industries where are you going to be in 5 years' time, when most graduates are going to be, or 50% plus will be sort of going on to job two by the time they get 5 years down the line? That makes sense?
Yes, thank you. We talked about spray and pray earlier.
Okay.
Sending it out everywhere. I think it ties in. There's a question here, and look, it's something that we hear a lot, right? That you apply for lots of jobs.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. You're going to get a lot of rejections,
Yeah.
sadly, right? Or hear nothing back. This one here just literally says, I'm in the initial stage of drafting the application and getting rejections. I need guidance. What would you say to them?
Okay. It is the nature of the beast, unfortunately, when a lot of people will be applying for roles that not all employers are able to provide personalized feedback. Some will, if their processes allow them to. Um, but I think that if you're just not getting anything back, then it's not a cop out when I say this, but I would sort of, I would go and speak to a careers advisor and think about, well, what actually is it that, how you've prepared for that. I'm not saying that whoever's asked this question is, but clearly look at the criteria that is required and what is needed for those roles. And is it lack of detail, for example? The number of people that I unfortunately had to inform that they'd not been successful, academically, really, really capable individuals, but just not understanding one question means that you don't meet a criteria. And if one criteria isn't met, in the case of where I am at the moment, then unfortunately, if you don't meet the baseline, that's it. We have to kind of unfortunately inform those people that we can't take them forward. Um, so really kind of take your time. Don't rush your applications. The most sort of simplest of grammatical errors can result in being rejected, and that's a horrible word, or being told you're unsuccessful.
Rejection is a terrible word, right?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I get that, but I would also, whoever that person is, I'll be like, well, okay, what's the approach? What are you looking for? What's the approach that you've taken? You know, if there's just loads of jobs being applied for, what are they? Are they in certain industries, or is it all the same one? Is it not the is it the academic criteria? All of this stuff the employers should be sharing with you. So
Yeah.
it's difficult to answer specifics. I can get this. I understand frustration.
Of course, yeah, yeah. All right, thank you. Look, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I just want to bounce through some of these questions here that I think you may have already answered. So sometimes people come
Yeah.
in a little later. We may have answered it, and if not, it
Yeah.
might be on one of our other webinars. So I just want to go through. Ha has asked about video interviews, which allows making notes. Would it flag if I'm occasionally diverting my eyes to look at the notes while I'm speaking? We kind of talked about this earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it would do, but you're not scoring. You know, I think you're probably not going to have a lot of time to make notes on a video interview because you're probably looking at 30 seconds, you know,
Yeah.
after you've seen that question before you then respond with your answer. So I would say that it would only be one or two words. Don't try and get the grammatical kind of, I have to say that exactly like this. You know, there's indicators that will be behind what the positive response is and indicators behind the not so positive response that you provide. So I think that the time will elapse quickly, but just try and answer it
Yeah. But there's another
without writing
question.
lots of notes.
Yeah. There's another question. It's quite a hot topic, is the video interviews, and it's should an interview response for higher view be the same as in person? We got asked today and before. The higher view, there are other video
Yeah,
materials. I
yeah,
think
they're
people
very
are
good
using
high.
higher view in the same way we say Google, right? But actually, it's a video interview. We have covered it. You gave some great detail earlier. And our last webinar, you can find it online on our website. We did a whole webinar around different types of interview, and a big section was on that. The notes are written up on our website, and you can watch the video, Matthew. So there's lots of stuff there. We talked about the fear mongering, demonstrating your skills and standing out. We've talked a lot.
Yeah.
I think we've covered most of the stuff. And
I
the last one there was, to what extent should we use AI in your cover letter? Again, we kind of talked about it at the very start of the
yeah,
webinar.
I'd say, you know, do it to help with the structure, you know, but it's
Yeah,
your document, it's personal to you.
yeah.
You know, really it's something that you should, it's your piece of work.
Hmm.
You know, do you read 2-page covering letters? Well, then why does it need to be 2 pages? If it needs to be 2 pages, then yeah, but I'd say, well,
You get hundreds, if not thousands, of applications, right?
yeah,
You're not going to. I
it's
mean,
it's
we don't even read a full CV. I don't read every. I skim for keywords on a CV. I don't read every word on it.
mm, you're able to kind of highlight the why in the covering letter and what skills that you've got. You
Yeah.
don't need 2 pages, and also as well, that demonstrates a written communication ability by being able to write concisely and to the point.
Hmm.
And you know that is a skill, and so that is something that you need to work on.
Thank you. Well, on that note, we've hit our time already. These webinars go so quickly. Thank you again, Darren, for giving up your lunchtime
No,
to
everybody else has
to
given up their
join
lunchtime as
us.
well, haven't they? So well done to everybody on the call.
Yes, thank you all for coming. As you say, it will be uploaded over the next couple of days. You'll be able to watch it back. There'll be the notes. We have a whole series that you can look at. As I always say, you've got your fantastic career services that are on
Yeah,
hand. All the stuff here. When you are prepping, use them. Book out mock interviews, like Darren was saying. They do an incredible job to support you, and we speak to a lot of them, and they're really, really passionate about supporting
they are.
international students.
Yeah, very much so. They'll want to provide the support that they can so that you're successful.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, We'll be taking a break for Christmas. We'll be back in the new year with our series of webinars. If not already, you can sign up on our website. It's free to sign up, to subscribe, to get our newsletter, and then you'll be notified when we announce the next webinar. So please join us. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. Thank you, Darren, for your fantastic answers.
No problem.
Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we will see you in the future. Thanks for joining.
All the best,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.